guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can tell by the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about some of my tips and tricks on ways that you can successfully potty train your toddler before the age of 2. The reason why I am doing this video is because I have 2 boys currently, and I have been able to, well, myself and my husband, we have been able to successfully potty train them before they turn 2. And I see a lot of women that kind of have this idea that 2 is a little bit too early. I see a lot of people say that the normal age to potty train a child is somewhere between the ages of 3 and 4. However, I cannot do that. I am not changing any diapers longer than I have to. And I have found that with, following these steps, I've done the same steps for each child, except each child was a little bit different. So some may be a little bit more in depth than the other, but regardless, we'll get into all of that. But by following these steps consistently with both of my children and just being really diligent, we have been able to get them 100% potty trained by the time they turn 2. So if you're interested in hearing my tips and tricks on potty training before the age of 2, or just potty training your child in general, because I'm sure that you can use these same tips and tricks at any age. I just can't speak for the experience beyond this age because I have not dealt with that yet. But either way, if you're interested in hearing my take, my tips, my tricks, then definitely stick around. Let's get right into it. So a little bit of background. I have 2 sons. I have a 4-year-old and I have a 2-year-old. Everything that I'm going to detail in this video are things that I've done for each of my children. However, my first son, my 4-year-old, was a little bit easier and a little bit more adaptable to potty training and the concept of potty training, as opposed to my second son, who needed a little bit more of a very, very, very hands-on approach. He has a little bit of a different personality type, so he was definitely our wild card in this fight of potty training, but we were still able to get him to the same feat, which was successfully being potty trained. And that goes for both potty trained during the day and nighttime potty training, which they actually switched roles on that. My youngest, my 2-year-old, took to nighttime potty training easier and better than my first son did. But my first son took to regular potty training easier and better than my second son did. So every kid is different. Everybody's experience with their children is different. So some of these tips and tricks may work for you. Some of them may not work for you. They might not work for your child at all. But this is just my experience and what I suggest to anybody who asks for any advice in regards to potty training, because for me, they're tried and they're true. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. So that was my background. Let's go ahead and get right into my 10 potty training tips. So tip number 1 for me is to introduce your child to the concept of the potty early and often. And what I mean by that is to, as soon as you can get your hands on a potty, definitely do that. For us, we use the one that looks just like a toilet, obviously except smaller and plastic. And what we do early, before we are even ready to full on potty train, what we do is we'll put the potty in the bathroom, and every now and then when we go to use the restroom in the morning, we'll bring our child into the bathroom with us and we'll sit them across from us and we'll just basically show them how to use the potty. Because what is a better way to learn how to do something other than by, learning from example, right? So we do that early and often. Introduce them to the concept of the potty early and often. So with my first, probably about 6 months before we even planned on getting him into the mindset of potty training, we would sit him on the potty and we would be, sitting on the toilet and just kind of showing him and mirroring what to do. And if he peed, we celebrated, and then we kept it pushing. We didn't, do it consistently. It was just something that we were just introducing him to, letting him know hey, this is a thing, this is normal. This is a concept that you will grasp just as easily as they will grasp learning to crawl, learning to walk, learning to, eat solids, or, whatever, all these different type of milestones that the children hit. This is yet another one that they will hit if we give them the right tools and the environment to be able to do that. Number 2 is honestly what I swear by and Everybody doesn't have this ability, because I understand that for me, it is a privilege that I'm able to be a stay-at-home mom. So I am able to be more hands-on when it comes to potty training my children. But some people, they don't have that ability, right? So some people's children might be in daycare, or they may be babysat by other people. They just might be in the care of other people. So this next one may not be realistic all the time, but when it is, when you are able to have your time with your child, then I definitely, suggest doing no bottoms. No bottoms, no bottoms, no bottoms. Let that baby free ball all the day long. However long you have with them to be able to be in potty training, let them not wear any bottoms. Why? Because it's important that they get used to the feeling of not being in a diaper. But if you take them out of a diaper and before they're potty trained, put them right into training pants or put them right into underwear, they're not going to understand, oh, I shouldn't pee in this, or I shouldn't poop in this. They're just going to think that it's something else for them to use the restroom in. So going with no bottoms, there will be accidents, right? They'll probably pee on the floor a couple times, probably, poop on the floor. My first did not poop on the floor. My first peed on the floor. My second peed and pooped on the floor. So that was fun. But either way, no bottoms. Let them free ball, let them experience, that ease of being able to just run and sit on the potty if they need to, as opposed to having to go through the whole rigmarole of pulling their pants and their underwear down and then pulling them back up and making sure that, they were down all the way and they didn't pee on the pants. And, it's a whole thing. Now, it may very honestly and truly be different for girls. I do not have experience in potty training girls, as I am a boy mom at the time. However, adjust to your child, adjust to what is necessary for you. For me, it was definitely easier to make sure that my children were bottomless. While they are bottomless, it is important, and this is where the really hands-on part comes, and this is why I say I understand that everybody does not have this ability to be this hands-on due to scheduling and different lifestyles. However, the time that you have with your child, make that time count. It might take a little bit longer than it would take if you were home with your child all day, every day, but regardless, you'll be able to get to the same end goal as long as you make the time that you have meaningful and you make it count. So being diligent, being hands-on. Number 3 is, while they're bottomless, wherever they go, their potty goes. Make sure if they're playing in a playroom, take their potty, sit it in the playroom. When you sit it in the playroom, you say, hey, your potty's right here. Do you see it? Here's your potty. Here's your potty. Your potty is right here. Do you need to go potty? Here's your potty. And if they go in the living room, take their potty there. Say, hey, child's name, your potty is right here. That is what we did. With both of our boys, everywhere that they went, that potty went. If they were playing in their room, the potty was in their room. If they were in our bedroom, the potty was in our bedroom. If they were in the living room, the potty was in the living room. If they were in the kitchen, the potty was in the kitchen. Everywhere they go, the potty goes. That way they understand the concept early of, if I have to go, I go here. Right? If I have to use the potty, this is where I go. I don't pee on the floor, I pee right here because it's right here, it's close. Because usually when they're just in the learning stages, they don't understand the feeling of having to pee until it's urgent, right? Because they never had to identify that before. When they're in diapers, they don't have to think about, oh, I'm getting ready to pee in my diaper. Here I go. There's no preparation for it. They just let loose. So when you get them out of their diapers, you have to kind of bridge the gap between urgency. So if you bring the potty around them and more accessible to them more often, then they'll start to understand, okay, now I have to hold it until I can reach the potty seat. And then if you move it further away, further away, further away, you start leaving it in one spot, they'll start seeking that potty out to go and relieve themselves. It's no different than when you're teaching your child how to crawl, right? Like when they're learning how to crawl, you put something in front of them, they'll reach for it, then you move it back a little bit and they'll reach for it, and you move it back and they'll reach for it. It's the same concept, which is why I say, like, your child and their success and them being ready for potty training is 100% dependent on the parents and where we are at in that process. Because if we're diligent, they'll be able to do it just like they're able to do everything else, just like they were able to learn how to walk, just like they were able to learn how to crawl, just like they were able to learn how to speak. It's just one of those natural occurrences that they are going to achieve as long as we set them up with the tools to do so. All right, number 4 is, again, And this is all kind of lining up. It's all kind of becoming the same thing. But number 4, again, is about that diligence. It's about repetition. So we're going to constantly and often repeat ourselves to our child, right? We're going to constantly ask them and check in with them very, very often. Do you have to pee? Do you have to potty? Do you have to poop? Do you have to pee? Do you have to potty? Do you have to poop? And we're going to keep asking them so that they start to think about and identify, do I need to pee? Do I need to poop? Do I need to use the potty? We are asking them so that they're starting to disassociate the time frame between like, this is urgent, I gotta go now, and be able to assess, oh, I do feel like I have to pee. I do feel like I have to poop, right? So you ask them very, very often. It's gonna get really repetitive and it's very hands-on, like I said. So it is a lot to do, but if you do it and you do it consistently, you can stop changing diapers, right? So as you're doing this repetition and constantly checking in with them to see if they need to use the potty or not, definitely try to lean into their cues, right? If they say no, trust them for a little bit that it is a no. If they seem hesitant to say like anything, like they don't know, they're kind of in limbo, put them on the potty and sit them there to see if they go. If they say yes, help them get to the potty so that they can sit down and go. But either way, you definitely want to kind of expand on their independence, right? So if they say no, trust them a little bit and then just check in with them and maybe a couple seconds or in a couple more minutes. But you want to let them explore that independence because we can't tell them when they have to use the bathroom because we can't fill that for them, right? So we have to entrust them with the ability to decipher that and discern that for themselves so that they can tell us and then they can go to the potty, or they can just go to the potty without even having to tell us, right? And you're going to keep doing that and checking in with them often until they're able to, again, discern and decipher that for themselves. Number 5 on the list is to congratulate them very loudly, very boastfully. When they go to the bathroom, you want to very over the top celebrate and congratulate them. I'm talking hand clappings. I'm talking high fives all over. I'm talking about celebratory dances. I'm talking going and telling their siblings, telling their other parents, telling whoever's around, they use the potty, and everybody celebrating on one accord, because that excitement of like, oh, I just did a great thing. They're going to want to continue that. So celebrate the wins. Celebrate every time they pee a little bit or poop a little bit in that potty and really make them feel good about themselves. Along the same lines, however, number 6 is do not reward your child. Now, I know a lot of people probably think that this is a little bit controversial because a lot of people do lean more towards reward-based potty training. However, I think it is 1, super weird, 2, counterproductive, and 3, I just don't think that the concept is there. Because why are we rewarding a child to do something that is so natural and normal as using the bathroom and a potty? We do not do reward-based training when it comes to teaching them how to crawl. We do not give them rewards when they're learning how to walk. We do not give them, treats for any other occurrence. But for potty training, we want to reward them with like snacks and candies and juice and treats. And I just feel like it is the strangest thing. Here is why. Because our children are children. They are human children. They are not dogs. They are not animals. They are not birds, cats, whatever kind of animal that you train and give a treat. They're not that. So we don't need to do that with them. They will still learn the concepts without having to do it. And I think that a lot of parents do it because it's easier. I guess it's easier to bribe your child into doing something that you want them to do as opposed to just teaching them how to do it effectively and actually being diligent. But I don't think that it is very productive. I think that it puts a false expectation into the minds of a child that, oh, if I do this, then I get this. And then how do you disassociate that in the future? Okay, now you're using the bathroom like you're supposed to, no more treats. You don't get anything else. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that would be kind of traumatizing. If you're used to like, oh my gosh, every time I do this, I get this. And then you do it. And then it's like, oh, never mind. We were just joking with you. We just wanted to get you, used to that. It's just like, I don't know. It's just weird. Don't reward your children. If you can put in the time to be able to actually dedicate to them, then please do that. but do not reward them as if they are some kind of animal, because they are not an animal. They are human, just like you and I. And when we do something good, we don't get a cookie. Number 7 on the list is don't use pull-ups. I know a lot of people use pull-ups maybe sometimes during nap time during the day or overnight, but I really do not think that pull-ups are productive at all. And in fact, I actually think that they are super counterproductive because, again, if you go back to what I was saying about, you know, letting them go bottomless, you're pretty much taking your child from being in something that they know they are supposed to use the bathroom in and putting them in something else that they don't know that they're not supposed to use the bathroom in, right? So essentially, if you take them out of diapers and put them in a pull-up that is equally as absorbent, right? It is just as soft and it is just as plushy as a diaper. It has the same exact feeling of a diaper. They're not going to be able to fully disassociate the fact that, like, oh, this is something different. Oh, I shouldn't use the bathroom in this, right? I do suggest if you have to put them in anything like overnight, either putting them back in a diaper because they already know that. And eventually, as you're potty training, they're going to start not feeling right using the bathroom in their diapers anyway. They're not gonna like being wet for too long because they now know the feeling of being dry. Or they're not gonna wanna poop unless that diaper is off of them. They learn like that. So you can either start putting them in training pants at the end of the night, which is a little bit counterproductive as well because it does have a little bit of absorbency. My son, my second son, we had him in underwear and training pants. When he was in underwear, he would not pee, but when he was in training pants, he kind of associated that as his new diaper, and he would pee or even poop in them. So we chucked the training pants and went 100% solely to underwear if we ever had to put anything on him. Meaning, if we had to run out to the store or overnight or things like that, we just put him straight in underwear because he needed to know that there was no protection. There was no layer of protection, so he can't get away with having to use the bathroom and not going to use something or use the potty. But anyway, that's how I feel about pull-ups. Pull-ups is literally the equivalent of a diaper, except you're not laying your child down and, you know, folding tabs over. You're just pulling it up like underwear. But it's still the same consistency, it's still the same texture, it's still a diaper. So it's really going to be counterproductive, and any progress that you did make, it is going to undo it. And you're probably going to have to start over a little bit in training your child now to not use something that you just introduced to them to basically use. So yeah, no pull-ups. Number 8 on the list is be patient. It is so important to be patient during this process because it is definitely going to take time. Potty training does not happen overnight. It does not happen over 2 nights. It does not happen over 3 nights. It happens over a long period of diligence and consistency with your child. So however long it takes for them to be able to, you know, hop onto that, so be it. But we definitely have to be patient with them in the process because they take their cues from us. They are watching us, they feel us, they vibe off of us, right? So if we are unmotivated or if we are frustrated, then they are too going to be that. And if they are to that, then it will also not work on both ends of the spectrum, right? Because they're not going to perform the way that you want them to. And you're going to be frustrated because of that. And it's just going to be a never-ending cycle because you're frustrated. They're not able to perform the way that they need to, right? Because we're feeding off of each other here. So you have to create the environment for learning, right? You have to create the environment for them to be able to take on this new task and really feel good about themselves and being able to learn this new task. Like I said, they take their cues from us. So it is up to us to set the tone of the experience. It is our job to set the example and to make sure that we are very, very patient. Number 9 is expect accidents to happen. Accidents are 100% going to happen. I cannot tell you how many times with my second son, we had to clean up poop off of the carpets or off the floor. It's gross, but accidents happen because they are learning something new. Like I said before, it's not going to happen overnight. And a few bad days does not mean that they're not ready. Just like a couple of accidents doesn't mean that you're not doing something right. It really is just the ebb and flow of the situation, and you really just have to kind of provide the space and the environment for your child to be able to take on this new form of being a potty trained toddler and allow them the space to be able to do that. Some children may learn a little bit quicker than other children do, but that doesn't depict what the capability is of your child. All children are capable of learning. It just is our job to determine what it is and how it is they need to learn, right? Like, in what style do they need to learn these things? So it's not an incapability on the child's part. It really comes down to, once again, the motivation and the diligence of us as the parent and what we bring to the table and the environment that we set. And number 10 on the list, last but not least, is to trust your child. Really entrust them with this responsibility and let them know that you believe in them and that you trust them to be able to achieve the goal of becoming potty trained. Right? You have to, as their parent, trust them and give them the space to show you their independence. You have to allow them to show you how adaptable they can be, because they are. They are extremely adaptable and extremely pliable at such an early age, which is why I personally believe in starting before the age of 2, starting definitely before the age of 3 and 4, because it's when they're younger that they have that urge, that that yearning to learn, to grow, to be able to do new things and really start developing that independence. I find it so interesting that people will put off potty training until their children are like 3 or 4 years old, but they will do like cry it out method with their baby when their baby is like 3 weeks old or a month old, or when they decide to wean them from breastfeeding, or when they decide to transition them into their own, bed, maybe not doing cry it out, but even just transition them, or when they allow their children to start attending daycare or be, in the care, be babysat by somebody else. All of these things that I'm mentioning are things that take a lot of trust in your child's ability to adapt on the parent's part. And I don't think that potty training is any different. We have to instill an immense amount of trust in them, that we trust them to adapt to this new thing. We don't necessarily, and I mean, some people might, but we don't necessarily wait until they're, a certain age, to start doing some of these things, because it's important that they start developing a sense of independence. Now, not an extreme sense of independence. I don't believe in forcing a newborn to be extremely independent, but when it comes to the concepts of like, oh, okay, like, me and my husband want to go on a date. We want to leave the baby with, grandma. So they don't call her grandma, they call her Mima. But regardless, that's not what this is about. So we're going to trust that our baby is going to be okay, because they're going to maybe forget about us in a couple of minutes, or they'll be distracted, or they'll be sleeping, or they'll be hungry. We trust them to make the adaptation, of course, with the help of somebody else, but we trust them to be able to make that adaptation. So I think that it's important that we learn that in potty training, it's no different. We have to trust our child to be able to show how adaptable they can be in this setting. And we have to make the environment conducive for them to do that. Again, they take all of their cues from us. So we have to make sure that we're setting the stage and setting the right environment for them. Anyway, that pretty much sums up this video. I definitely hope that it was helpful. Like I said, these are just some of the things that we have done pretty much step by step with both of our children to be able to successfully potty train them before they both turn 2. And that has been a great help, because not having to change diapers is great, especially because with my second son, we were cloth diapering him, which meant that it was a little bit of extra work, right, to change his diapers, to clean his diapers, to wash his diapers, and all that different type of stuff. So to be able to get a break from that is great, and especially because as they start eating, their poop starts changing, and it might get more solid, more runny, who knows, but regardless, why change it in a diaper if you don't have to. So anyway, again, I hope that you were able to get something from this video. I am going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so much if you watched this far. If you're interested in any more content in regards to, you know, momming, parenting, maternal health, reproductive health, all kinds of things. I have all kinds of things. So if you're interested in checking it out, definitely check it out. If you're interested in sticking around and joining my journey with me, then definitely do so. I have a lot more coming down the line, but either way, I'm gonna stop rambling and I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Bye.